I'm the Fanfiction Critic, and this is what you do with a BA in English. Now, to my understanding, the internet was created for 4 distinct purposes. Actual research, pictures and videos of adorable animals doing adorable things, porn, and fanfiction. I'm here to review the best and worst fanfiction that the internet has to offer. And today, I'll be focusing on the worst. Now, before I get started, I'm not making any money out of this. The fanfiction in today's episode belongs entirely to the author and not to me. And in the future, if I happen to review your fanfiction, I am not doing it to insult you. I'm making fun of your poor writing skills, which is completely different. And if you can't take the criticism, don't post anything on the internet. Today's fanfiction comes from the early 2000s and concerns various Disney characters. It's called The Disney 7 and is written by a woman called Crazed Writer, all one word. I'll include a link at the credits. Now, the plot centers around a town called Walroy, which makes Mayberry look like Sin City. The denizens of Walroy have access to some sort of a portal that allows different Disney characters to enter their town, which they do for parties. More on that later. Anyway, all the good Disney characters can come to Walroy whenever they feel like it, whereas all of the bad Disney characters are sent to some sort of Disney villain hell known only as the Void. Mysterious. Now, 3 Disney villains escape from the Void to wreak havoc on Walroy until 7 good characters show up to send them packing, and then they have a party. Let's dive in, shall we? Now, I'm also going to note that the entire story will not be read aloud because it clocks in at over 90 pages, and I don't have all day. So we're going to have various parts read, and then I'll provide context and commentary. So, let's start with Walroy.
Walroy, USA. It's a small town, with a population of less than 1,500, and like most towns its size, it has its quirks and habits. Nice folks live here. Good families with kids, great neighbors. The town square teems with activity now, with kids off to school, grown-ups off to work and shopping. But not long ago things got out of hand. Everything was not all joyous.
Oh no!
You're thinking, Walroy, isn't it a play on the names? Well, I'll tell you, you're right. Walroy is a Disney-loving town, so much that the very name is derived from Walt and Roy Disney. That was the town's founders' idea. Then they bought the tract of land that once served as the set of one of the old animated shorts. The founders, Laura and Philip Ryder, wanted a place where Disney characters could come visit any time they like, where the great Disney movies can play continuously at the Soul Theater in town. And those characters have made many an appearance. All the mainstays, Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Pluto have visited here. Even a few human characters such as Pollyanna and Mary Poppins have dropped by to say hello. Walroy is not just any old town, it's magical. Hidden away in City Hall's clock tower, in the town square, is an enchanted communicator, which if used properly, can summon any Disney character on the spot. This is operated by only 2 people, the mayor and police chief. But if it should fall into the wrong, or in this case, inexperienced hands, it can spell trouble. And that's what happened a few weeks ago when a brash kid dared another to sneak into that tower and steal the communicator. Of course, things got out of hand, and well, let us find out what exactly happened the fateful day when the entire town was turned all topsy-turvy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is hell. It's just hell. Saying that Walroy makes Mayberry look like Sin City is an understatement. This place is like Mayberry meets Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on crack. The town is just so good and wholesome that it's very bland. And the author keeps teasing us with things like, not long ago, things got out of hand. Everything was not all joyous. And then she wastes paragraph space telling us about the Walroy movie theater and all that stuff. And she should have just reordered the whole thing to put that little teaser bit at the end of all the other stuff. But I digress. Let's continue.
Ever wonder what happens to all those beloved and not so beloved characters after the movie ends? Well, they go their separate ways, living happily ever after in their respective realms until they're needed for another day. That is, Quasimodo and his friends go about their daily routine in 15th century Paris. Ariel is enjoying her life with husband Eric and daughter Melody. Belle and her prince are doing fine in magical 16th century France, as are Jasmine and Aladdin living happily ever after in Agrabah. As for the non-human characters, Simp is still king of Pride Rock, Bambi is still prince of the forest, and Aladar has settled into domestic bliss with Mira at the nesting grounds.
I can honestly say that I have never wondered that at all, because they're just in a movie. And when the movie is over, you just sort of forget about it until Disney churns out the crappy sequel in a lame attempt to make a quick buck. Now, I did not know who or what Aladar and Mira were before this, and according to Wikipedia, Disney made a CGI dinosaur film called Dinosaur in 2000. The film didn't actually bomb at the box office, but everyone's kind of forgotten about it. So it's sort of like The Black Cauldron, except that no one's ever heard of it. Also, the Disney characters in this story are very aware that they're fictitious, that they've only existed in a movie, which is really weird and could be interesting, but this aspect is never explored or explained. It's just kind of out there and it's weird. I think this story could have been very interesting if maybe a character had gone through some sort of existential crisis because they only exist in an animated film. But the author never goes there, so we don't get that.
You're wondering, whatever happens to the villains after they're defeated? Well, they're still with us, but live in a world apart from the heroes where they can't hurt another living soul ever again. H&M, how can I put this? Ever read the Superman comics? You know how Superman's birth planet Krypton put criminals in the Phantom Zone?
Well, at least she acknowledges ripping off a Superman comic.
That's almost like the place where the Disney villains go. That's right, all the great baddies. Cruella, Maleficent, Frollo, Scar, Jafar, Ursula, Madame Nim, and the rest of the ne'er-do-wells are locked away in an eerie, mysterious void known only to us Disney folks. The only way they can get out is if somehow the void is breached. Well, you guessed it. Someone make that to someone's made it possible for 3 dastardly villains to escape their prison and wreak their havoc on this peaceful little town.
I'm just going to point out right now that Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio is the narrator. Oh, and the phrase ne'er-do-wells? Get used to it, because it's going to keep appearing again and again and again. So that's our premise. And to be fair, it's not a bad one. Disney crossovers are pretty difficult to pull off because none of the movies take place during the same time period or the same setting. So this idea had the potential to be interesting, but it's actually just kind of boring right now. The old-timey language is actually really irritating, and if the characters are as bland as this setting is, well, let's meet our characters, shall we? First, we've got these 3.
Andrea, the tall, gangly 12-year-old tomboy with a pale, freckled face, big blue eyes, and a shock of reddish hair. Ben, a cute-faced, dark-haired smart aleck of 10 winters. 7-year-old Kristen, who just tagged along because, at first, she wanted to be with her big brother. In fact, she worshipped Ben, always trying to emulate his supposed fearlessness and audacity.
Well, hang on. I thought it was 2 someones who opened up the void and let all these villains loose. There are, in fact, 3 plucky, fresh-faced kids, Ben, Andrea, and Kristen, in the clock tower. But only one of them is actually messing around with the equipment. Smart aleck Ben ignores the protests of his sister and his friend and proceeds to just monkey around with this stuff, which honestly should have just been stored in a better place than a clock tower. You have a key to, like, interdimensional travel, and it's just in a clock tower? It's not even locked up, no one's guarding it. Ah, stupid.